Now, Jim, what's going on right now where you are?
Jeff and Joanne, at this hour, the sun is going down. The crew members from the FBI, Michigan State Police are starting to leave the scene, but take a live look behind me. They've been inside this blue tent that is heated and then going into a side door in this business. Let me make this clear. This is not a murder investigation. They are looking for human remains, bones, and tissue. As we first showed you on 7 Action News last night, the FBI first started working on this site in the dark. Crew members wearing hazmat suits with masks. Human remains are considered a biohazard. The work continued all day today. Take a look from Chopper 7. The work on this site started early this morning. Sources say the remains found here are being taken to the Wayne County Medical Examiner's office, then to a lab for further testing. The business here is called International Biological, a company that has advertised in the past as a medical educational service provider. The question here is, were they dealing illegally in human corpses and body parts that sources say can be very valuable on the black market? The owner of the company is Arthur Rathburn, who lives here in nearby Grosse Pointe Park. No one answered the door at his house today. We have confirmed the FBI was here yesterday with a search warrant, likely looking for business records and anything else in this ongoing investigation. Calls to Rathburn have not been returned. A neighbor says he's lived here for years, but kept to himself. The FBI is not commenting on this case. All court documents and search warrants are sealed. That is typical. Arthur Rathburn is not in custody. He is not charged with any crime, but we have also established that he worked for the University of Michigan from 1984 to 1990 in the anatomy department. He's been involved in this part of the medical field for years. Jeff, Joanne?
Jim, this seems very involved. So where are they in this investigation tonight?
We assume that the crew will be back out here again first thing this morning. They have not taken down the tent, and I've just learned just before we went on the air that Rathburn owns this entire block here on the east side of Detroit, at least 5 buildings. If they're going to search all of these buildings, they might be out here for several days.
More tonight on the FBI investigation into possible illegal trading in human remains. For the 3rd day, boxes of evidence have been removed from the International Biological Company that advertised as a medical education service provider.
But as 7 Action News reporter Jim Kirchner shows us, this case is sending shockwaves through the funeral home industry here in Metro Detroit.
You can see behind me the FBI investigation is wrapping up with the evidence recovery team. We believe the owner might be inside. We're going to show you him in just a second. But if human bodies were brought here, how could they be obtained illegally?
Either he went to the morgue and signed for it, or he went to the hospital, or somebody's helping him. I don't know.
Crematory might be in cahoots?
It could be. You never know.
The owner of this business, Art Rathburn, has had a mortician license since 1982. He's not charged with a crime, but what he is accused of doing here is not what happens at a funeral home. Rathburn or someone came here late this afternoon to take back the business from the FBI. Mr. Rathburn, will you talk with us? What do you have to hide, sir? There is a process called prosection where human remains are cut up for medical training. Doctors, dentists practicing procedures. The black market on human remains can be very profitable. Again, this is not what your nearby funeral home is doing. Not even close. That would normally be done in a university lab, Wayne State or University of Michigan in our area.
Used to have myths about bodies going to the cemetery. You always thought the bodies came out of the casket and so on and so forth. That's a myth.
Funeral homes document every step of possession of a body, from burial to cremation to donation for science. This case on Detroit's east side has become the hot topic of conversation.
You just have to reassure the families that this is not happening.
It's not known how long this investigation will take. It could depend on the testing what is believed to be those human remains. On Detroit's east side, Jim Kirchner, 7 Action News.
It may not be the kind of story that will bring holiday cheer.
But tonight, hundreds of families probably had no idea their loved ones and their bodies were cut up, sold, and yes, even rented out of this shabby warehouse in Detroit. Only on 7 tonight, investigator Jim Kirchner shows us how the case is building from Detroit.
It was almost 2 weeks ago the Feds spent 3 days here. They're continuing to build their case. This afternoon, we confronted the owner. Why were you stockpiling hundreds of human body parts here, sir? Art Rathburn is not in custody and not charged with a crime. We'll come back to him in a minute. The feds gave him back his business on Friday the 13th. Sources say inside it was a house of horrors, a human parts warehouse, arms, legs, heads of an estimated 1,000 different people. It took 3 days for the feds to remove them all, wearing hazmat suits with masks. Art Rathburn has a Michigan mortuary science license, active since 1982. In fact, this week when 7 Action News asked state licensing officials about an on-site inspection, we were told the buying and selling of human remains is under the state health department. But a spokesperson for that department says that's not the case. So there is no indication the state ever inspected this shabby warehouse. State officials now say they have an open investigation. The center was Rathburn buying corpses out the back door of funeral homes, crematoriums, and willed body donation programs. There is a high demand and a lucrative black market. Body parts are used in anatomy classes, practicing medical and dental procedures, and in some cases, tissue transplant into live people. Sources say both are part of the Rathburn case. The bodies inside his Detroit warehouse, sources say, were kept on ice, not embalmed, to keep them fresh for the market. What do you say to all those families who had no idea their loved ones were in here? Sources say Rathburn did business outside of Michigan and outside of the United States, shipping his body parts through airlines cargo out here at Detroit Metro Airport. The other question investigators are putting together who may have worked with Rathburn. He advertised his business on the internet as International Biological. Are you worried about going to prison? Sources tell me it will be well into the new year when they complete this case and charges could be filed. On Detroit's east side, Jim Kurtzner, 7 Action News.